Well, hi there! Hey, it's me, Zan, from the Tucanxan art channel, and it's been a while, so I don't think I've had anything up since the 30-day challenge that I did a while back, and I definitely needed a break after doing that. I was super burnt out. Like, getting a video up every day was pretty much impossible for me, but I finished the challenge and that's all that matters. So I'm here now, and I thought that this would be a fun painting to show you the process behind. So I've kind of learned a few things about myself as an artist in the last few weeks and months. Actually, real quick, let me let me tell you. So I bought that fancy Arches paper that's supposed to be like the best paper in the world, and before we get started, I want to let you know that I painted on the wrong side of the paper. Again. Yes. Oh, and yes, tea is great for when you're painting, but yeah, no, I totally painted on the wrong side of the paper, and I can tell because the side on the back is extremely smooth, whereas this side, you can see like almost the chain lines of how the paper was made. So this is not necessarily the best example of how well that paper works. If that's what you're looking for, don't come to me in this instance. So yeah, that was kind of silly on my part to paint on the wrong side of such expensive paper, but whatever, the painting turned out cool. So, to get started, I knew I wanted this to be a kind of vibrant piece, and I think I kind of ended up channeling my inner Card Captor Sakura with this whole piece. But this is my little Burlesque Witch, and I'll probably put up on my Instagram. I'll show you everything from the pencils to the inks, and then finally the colors. But we started off with, I think it's the Lemon Yellow and Dr. P.H. Martin's, and it was Persimmon and Moss Rose, I believe. And those were kind of my main colors that I used. And then for her skin, which ended up turning out much, much lighter than I anticipated, which was fine, I used Naples Yellow Reddish, and that was really hard to find. Like, I couldn't find that in an art store, and on Amazon there was really only one person that was selling it, and they had like 1 or 2 blocks left of it. But I did find it, and this was another one of those tips and tricks from Lalavan. He says that instead of... So I love my cat, but he's really good at getting his hairs everywhere, and I couldn't get this cat hair off of the page for the life of me. Anyway, so the Naples Yellow Reddish is a great base for skin tones, and I used that today, and it was fun. I've learned that for me, as much as I really, really want to be... It's still going. We're still trying to get that cat hair out of there. Sorry. As much as I would really like to be one of those more realistic artists, and I may get there someday. There's that infamous someday, which basically means it's never gonna happen. What? You never know. Anyway, so I really like simple colors. I personally just don't have the patience to realistically render figures, and I find that every time I try to do that, where I put a lot of layers and depth in the colors and shadows of the face and skin tones and stuff like that, usually those pieces end up just like sitting for the next 2 years, and I don't go back to them. So for me, because I have ADD and I'm a very impatient artist, it has to be something that I can color relatively quickly. So this, I think I colored in 2 hours or so, but the line work took 2 hours, the doing the inking took 2 hours, and then there was another couple of hours to do the colors. Whereas if I had really tried to work really hard on rendering the colors themselves, I would have been there probably for 5 hours, and I don't have fun when I do that. So I'm sure like every now and then I'm gonna get a hair up my butt to really try and render something, but that's something that my partner does really well, like much better than me. He's so awesome at like rendering light and shadow, and picking out skin tones and stuff like that, and I'm really good at block colors, and that's kind of the style that I like. So for now, that's probably going to be more of the art that I'm focusing on, because it's just like, it's simple, it's fun, it's easy. I don't like being stuck on a piece for an extended amount of time, and that sounds bad, and I'm kind of ashamed of it as an artist, because I feel like as an artist, when you spend more time on a piece, that's when it's more likely to really blossom and to have more depth. So you're gonna see that this piece, it almost looks like I took a marker and colored it. It doesn't even really look like watercolor. But that's just, you know, that's just my personal preference as an artist. I really, really like, absolutely respect artists who can render things realistically, like Lalvan and Lethal Chris with his Copic markers, and, you know, Rillamex with her oil painting, or Kelsey J. Beckett with her oils. I just don't have the patience to do it, and I am ashamed of myself, but, you know, part of the process is accepting who you are as an artist. So let's get back a little bit to the colors that we're working on. Everything was pretty much in the same color palette. I wasn't like trying to be super crazy any which way. And again, Card Captor Sakura kept coming to mind every time like I started drawing her costume. I kept just seeing like this really vibrant yellow and pink theme. And it was fun. It was really simple. I start off with like a really light wash, and ever since I learned that from Lalvan, it's easier to mix your colors on the paper itself and to get like a smoother finish by using a wet on wet technique. That's pretty much mostly what I use, but I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable with using the dry, wet on dry technique. So that's cool. And like with this piece, I didn't have to use my hairdryer at all. I didn't have to tape it down to the board that I was using. So I think that in itself is a testament to the Arches paper, because really the only reason why I have tape on it in the first place is because I wanted that border, because this was the actual size that the piece was in my sketchbook. So I'm gonna have to learn how to like make my pieces bigger. But actually, now that I mention that, that's kind of another thing that I realized. I realized that, oh, I just lost my train of thought. Me. I will hopefully find that thought again in a little bit. I'm a little rusty, guys. Anyway, so let me tell you that the different colors that you're seeing right now, I have my Winsor Newton palette down in the right-hand corner. I actually didn't really use that much. I found myself using the Grumbacher palette more. I think that works really well with the Dr. P.H. Martins. It just like gives it like an extra depth to the colors there, and yes, we're making more magic happen. So basically what's happening in this piece is, I feel really bad about losing my train of thought. I'm gonna pause this and go back and figure out what it was. So if you'll just bear with me for a second. Okay, we're back. So what I was going to say was, I have discovered that I personally like working smaller. That's another thing that's kind of been difficult for me to come to grips with as an artist, because I want to be able to make those like big, massive, expansive pieces that will go on a wall, you know, something that's like 3 feet by 7 feet or something ridiculous like that. And the bigger I work, the less likely I am to finish a piece. That is honest to God the truth. Like this piece right here is probably like, I don't know, maybe like a 12 by 9, and I find that that's usually the largest I end up going. So I feel guilty for that, but at the same time, like, I know myself, and knowing yourself as an artist, oops, sorry about the dog, is super, super important. So for me, I like working small. I like tiny details, which I think is going to lend itself well to my graphic novel when I start doing that. Yeah, so I was saying also that the Grumbacher palette works really well with Dr. P.H. Martins. That's kind of, I don't need to say more than that. That was more of my using the dry on wet technique, which was fun. And I used what's it called? The Payne's Gray in her eyes, just to give a little bit of shadowiness in there. And I think as I go on and I start getting more comfortable with painting, and particularly watercolor, I'm hoping that I do have more patience to render things more realistically, because you're going to hear me complaining about that a lot, if I'm honest. So now I'm going in with my purpley color. I think it's Hyacinth Blue in the Dr. P.H. Martins Radiant Concentrated Watercolors, and I thought that would be a pretty sweet complement to the light colors that I have going on here. And I think we're actually kind of at the end of the process here. Well, maybe not. So I put the colors down for the background, And basically what is supposed to be going on in my mind is she's a burlesque witch, so she's kind of summoning her powers. And that's why in the background there's that cool, I guess it kind of reminds me of a tissue paper flower or a silk flower or something like that. I'm going in with my Copic multiliners right now, so I don't use these very much. I actually prefer to use the Micron Pigments just because they're like super low stress. I don't have to worry about them, and I feel like the nibs on the Copic multiliners, even though they're interchangeable and that's like supposed to be one of the main selling points about it, it's not, it's just, it feels very fragile when I use it, and I don't have a heavy hand to begin with, and I don't like to feel like when I'm using my products I'm excessively damaging them. Like, that really bothers me. Another thing I learned in this piece was I prefer using the Uniball Signo. I used to be all about the Sakura Jelly Roll pen, but I tried to use it today and it just like, it kept like smearing and it looked brown and it just didn't have like the oomph that I was looking for. And the Uniball Signo did. So basically it's like this really cute latex burlesque costume. She's got a pink tutu and she's got like these cool feathery things coming off of her skirt. And yeah, so what's happening right now, again, we're talking about the magic. So she's summoning her magic right now, which is kind of why she has that this flowing aura of light in the background, and I wanted to look like she was had magic coming from her hands, so that's why I only lined her hands specifically with white, and I had like a little burst of light coming from her chest, but it's so subtle I don't really know if you understand it. And again, I think this might be one of those things that's better understood if I put it into Photoshop to get like a glow effect. So that was it. That was the process. That was my maniacal rambling. Thank you for listening to me this long. Sorry that this particular shot is out of focus right now. Not really sure why that's happening, but yeah, it was so much fun to get back in and to do another speed paint, and I hope you enjoyed the process. And real quick, I'm about to hit 600 followers on Instagram. I put up a video the other day with my face in it explaining that I was excited about it, so I just wanted to let you all know on YouTube, when I hit 600 followers on Instagram, I will be having a giveaway, so I'm really excited to kind of announce the different features of that when it actually happens, so be on the lookout for that. And I might have to take my site down soon just to kind of reevaluate and redo some things, but thank you so much for being here. Happy Friday, and I hope you have a great weekend and be safe, and that's pretty much it.